Helping someone in need is the morally correct thing to do practically anywhere in the actual world. Most people do this without thinking about it. When a player in a baseball game suffers an injury, the team's trainer immediately rushes out to check on the injured player. But there is one location so hostile, so harsh in nature, that ensures your own survival becomes a higher priority than assisting others. This is, of course, Mount Everest, where many climbers have gotten into terrible problems and been left for dead. The story of one of these climbers, a man named David Sharp, has caused widespread outrage among mountaineers. Is there another explanation for why no one stopped to aid him as he lay dying? Or did more than 40 climbers simply ignore him as they continued their ascent? Born near London on February 15, 1972, mountain climbing was a childhood passion for David Sharp, who ascended North Yorkshire's 1,000-foot Roseberry topping early in his life. Later, he joined the Nottingham University Mountaineering Club and graduated in 1993 with a mechanical engineering degree. So, Sharp was a mountaineer and adventurer who took a 6-month sabbatical to travel through South America and Asia as an adult. As a global security firm employee, he climbed many of the world's tallest mountains. In fact, he's one of the very few mountaineers who said no to extra oxygen to climb the world's tallest mountain. This guy was truly built differently since he preferred climbing without any guides or aid. His 2002 summit of Cho Oyu, the 6th tallest mountain in the world, was quite successful. This ascent was led by British climber Richard Dugan and a small team. Sharp managed to please Dugan, who invited him to conquer Everest the following year. So the next year in 2003, David Sharp accepted the invitation to climb Mount Everest for the first time. He acclimatized well and was a very powerful climber, but frostbite forced him to turn back before the peak. It turned out that his frostbite was so bad that he had to lose his toes. Now, most people would quit high altitude mountaineering after losing their toes, but David Sharp and other Mount Everest climbers are not most people. Sharp tried the north side of the peak in 2004, but turned back before reaching the summit. He was exhausted and frostbitten again. This time, his fingers suffered more. Other climbers tried to get him to use oxygen, but he refused. From analyzing climbers who have insisted on ascending alone or without oxygen, it seems that success is almost impossible. Even for the greatest climbers in the world, even Sherpas who live in high altitude year-round. Without oxygen, summiting Mount Everest is dangerous and simply suicidal. However, many climbers ignore this reality and the mountain's unambiguous message, try it this way or you'll die. Nobukazu Kiriki returned to Everest several times without guides or oxygen, even after losing 9 fingers, but failed each time and died on the summit. David Sharp was over 20, yet intended to climb Everest again in 2006 without a Sherpa. He brought a little extra oxygen for emergencies, but didn't use it. Sharp wasn't literally alone since other independent climbers in teams were climbing at the same time. But since there was no leader, Sharp had little to no support. No one was responsible for tracking, watching, or helping. Sharp didn't even want a radio to call for help in distress. He would try to ascend the mountain's north side, which is more challenging and contains the 3 steps on the northeast ridge again. Within the 3-step rock barriers, the first 2 are the most challenging to climb. This is the path George Malloy and Sandy Irvine presumably traveled to the summit in 1924. Sharp, like Mallory and Irvine, never descended the mountain. Thus, no one knows if he reached the peak. It's likely he made it, although considerably later than expected. He was alone with no guide to offer him a turnaround time or radio voice to encourage him to turn around. It got dark on his descent, so he had to camp under a rocky overhang on the first step. He called it Green Boots Cave after coming across an unnamed climber whose body was used as a landmark from 1996 to 2014. An Indian climber, Siwang Samanla, who disappeared wearing green boots, is most likely the suspect. David Sharp died slowly under the overhang with his arms around his legs, without oxygen. His body was entirely frozen due to severe frostbite. Around this time, around 40 climbers allegedly passed the dying man without a glance. Climbers tried to check on Sharp, but couldn't do much. A Turkish crew likely found him about midnight while ascending for a summit attempt the next day. They told him to move, but he waved them on, signaling he was fine. After that, 2 Sherpas and additional Turkish climber tried to move him. When they found him, Sharp was either dead or very close to it. They continued climbing because he could not move and they could do nothing for him. Sharp was nearly frozen when another team, including double amputee Mark Inglis and guide Mark Woodard, tried to move him. According to Woodward, he didn't even blink. I thought, oh, this poor guy. He's stuffed. We assumed he was dead or near dead. We saw he was dying and continued. Woodward said it was a tough decision, but for his team to halt at that height and try to retrieve a frozen, dead person made no sense and would endanger their lives. Other climbers tried to help him move or speak, but failed. Maxime Chaya, the first Lebanese Everest climber, tried to give Sharp oxygen and get him moving for nearly an hour. He was told to continue before getting into difficulty when he tried to radio for help. New Zealand mountaineer Jamie McGuinness stated that Sherpa Dawa paused and tried to help Sharp for an hour, giving him oxygen and trying to encourage him to move, but he failed to get Sharp to stand, let alone walk. Even with many Sherpas, a full-grown man could not descend the mountain over the tough terrain below from that altitude. Sharp was part of a team at first, but they moved ahead of him. This might be why he survived for a while, but he eventually passed away. He was one of 3 climbers who died around the same time. Eduardo Starch, a Brazilian, climbed to the top without using oxygen. The first time, he had to go back, but got to the base camp safely. When he tried again, he didn't have a Sherpa, radio, or oxygen with him. He made it to the top, but sadly died on his way down. David Sharp died where he sat, and the press had a field day as climbers passed by him without saving him. The key story was that most climbers today just care about summiting instead of aiding other climbers. They spend their $40,000 to $60,000 on this. When the mountain was commercialized in 2006, things changed. By then, and even more so now, many climbers who had no business on Everest paid tens of thousands of dollars to reach the peak and take a shot for Facebook or Instagram. However, most climbers work in teams today. They probably have a guide and other team members know their identity, skill level, and can help them get off the mountain alive. Sharp refused a friend's offer to join his team and went in all alone. He paid the bare minimum to climb the mountain and bought the bare minimum for survival. Given that he perished in the death zone of Mount Everest, any other human who passed him were trying anything they could to put one foot in front of the other. Stronger climbers risked their lives to check on Sharp out of no duty to him, indicating that not all climbers passed by. It was too late to help him when anyone recognized he was in trouble. Mount Everest rescue is nearly impossible in the death zone. He would have lived if he had been part of a well-organized squad of Sherpas, oxygen, radios, etc. He would have been turned around before reaching the summit due to a turnaround time or his deteriorating condition. And even if he got in trouble, he would have been helped down the mountain before severe frostbite and frozen limbs. David Sharp risked a lot by attempting this journey alone, especially because he had never summited Everest. It was suicidal to accomplish it with a basic pack and no oxygen. David Sharp, who remains on Everest, rest in peace today. But blaming the other climbers who passed him that day for his death, implying that they just cared about reaching the top, may be wrong. As described, other climbers tried to aid him, but he was locked into the death zone and could not move. His recklessness got him into that terrible situation. Unfortunately, climber Mark Inglis, who was criticized for not saving Sharp, made a compelling argument. It made perfect sense. Sharp was unprepared, lacked gloves, lacked air, and was doomed from the start. He claimed at 8,500 meters it's hard to survive, let alone save others. Sharp's mother concurred. Your responsibility is to save yourself, not try to save anybody else. If we take a look back, it's safe to say that the climbers did try to save him, but he put himself in such a terrible situation that death was inevitable. What do you think? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. For similar content, feel free to have a look at your screen. Until then, have a good one.